Skip Holt. Dive in with NBA free agency, and I'm going to say right off the bat, you guys are going to do all the work on this because I'm not into it.
You didn't miss nothing.
What I'm saying is I am less into this NBA free agency season than any that I can remember in my adult life.
I'll give
because I don't think we can do anything.
I'll give McNuggets credit. He's been foreshadowing and forecasting in his little room back there with his numbers and calculators.
He's got a board.
I got an abacus.
Yeah, he got an abacus back there. He's been calculating and telling us that the game is changing now. For a while, it seemed like you could go out and get 3, 4, 5, 6 dudes. You got 3, 5 max players plus the mid level plus you amnesty somebody. You're like, dang, how much money did the Golden State Warriors got to get all of these people on the team? Now it's different. I was watching a lot of NBA free agency the eve before, and one of the big comments they talked about was there's a lot of free agents out there that have no market. Kyrie Irving has maybe one team, no market. You take a look at
his tag, at what he wants,
at the amount he wants.
Yeah,
I mean,
everybody would love Kyrie Irving,
but not there's no market
with the baggage he brings and the expense that he's going to add to a team's payroll.
No long-term money.
To your point, I want you to explain it further because I know you will understand it better than any of us.
I got it all written down.
The game has changed. The money game in the NBA is different. You no longer are you going to be able to stack superstars on your roster and compete. You can still fit 3 or 4, but you're going to have 8, 10 dudes, just guys.
So the new CBA comes into effect July 1st, and I broke it down, and we'll get into all the Cavs free agents targets in a sec, but I do want to explain to you guys and to the people out there how this new CBA is going to affect team construction, not just here in Cleveland, but around the league. So it goes into effect July 1st. The 4 things you have to know are the new second tax apron rules are a killer. The second tax apron is essentially
that's when you exceed the
second level of the tax.
And so if you want to go just over the cap, there's a tax. It's punitive. Yep. But if you decide to go over a second line, it's almost illogical.
And we'll get there in one sec. There's also new extension rules for how much a player can get an extension, the value of it, their salary cap smoothing.
Do you want to go into that? I'm confused by that.
Just wait till you see the next couple slides. We got them all. And player award rules and midseason tournament. So to break down the second tax apron, if you spend $1 over the salary cap, $1 to $17.49 million.
Yeah.
So before anything under 17.5.
Yeah.
For every dollar you spend, you pay $4 to the NBA.
In the first
tier. It's still the same thing. That's how it is now.
Which is crazy.
But
guys have done it. Dan Snyder's done it. Dan Gilbert's done it.
It happens. And the Warriors have done this significantly. If you have deep pockets, it's not that big.
Right.
Before this new CBA, that was just the rule. If you spend $1 over the cap, you pay $4 to the NBA. So a $20 million contract really cost the owner $100 million because it was $20 million to the player, $80 million to the league.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So a $20 million contract
though,
was
$100
$80
million.
An extra $80 million was a $20 contract. That's why the Clippers are not re-signing Eric Gordon, who had a $21 million contract. It saves the owner $110 million in totality. But that was the only.
I love that too, by the way. Does anybody not?
Yeah.
I think it's going to bring about competitive balance in the association that we haven't seen.
So there are upsides and downsides to it. And before this new CBA, so as of today, that is still the only penalty of the luxury tax. Now, if you go over the second tax apron starting tomorrow on July 1st, which is $17.5 million and over, there are a number of significantly handicapped rules that you have to abide by. And if you take the graphic, Anthony, first off, you can't use a mid-level exception to sign a player.
Oh, you lose that.
You lose the ability to use your mid-level exception, which is how a lot of teams like the Cavs,
that's a big tool.
Celtics, it is essentially the number one thing that teams that are slightly over the cap can use to sign players. When you trade money, or when you trade players, right now you could trade, and the salaries could be within 30% of each other. So if I'm trading you a $10 million player, you could give me a $7 million player back, and it works. Now the team over the cap can't take on more salary. They have to give away more salary they can take back.
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
when a trade for a superstar, if you're over the salary, you're giving back not just pieces, you're giving back the whole and then some to be able to get it back.
I love that too.
You
I think
can't
that's
trade first-round picks 7 years out, so no more Kevin Durant. We're going to trade you our 2031 first-round pick.
Right.
Only 5 years out, so it limits the amount of first-round picks you can trade.
Yeah, because I thought it was absurd. Teams are giving away picks 7, 8 years down the road. Come on.
Yep. You also can't buy second-round picks anymore. which is how a lot of these teams filled out their roster with second-round picks.
Is that the can't trade cash in a deal?
Can't trade cash in a deal. You can't just buy a second-round pick. You have to give a player for something. You can't just buy a pick. And this one might be the most significant. You can't sign buyout guys. How many teams have won championships that in the middle of the season, a veteran gets bought out, joins a team, and then they're never like a big star, but they're contributors.
They're a piece.
And you can
maybe the piece they need.
So, and sometimes it has been.
I mean, it almost worked for Miami with Kevin Love, right?
Exactly. Now, Miami, who's not over the $17.5 million second apron, but if they were, would not have been able to bring in a guy like Kevin Love. So if you're over that second tax apron.
Do we know, Mike, what percentage of teams are currently over that? Do we know?
I know the Warriors. Well, the Warriors just got rid of Jordan Poole, so maybe they're actually under it now. No, I don't know off the top of it. It was a couple last year. I remember
just a few were over
the 17.5 last. I think it was 6.
How many are over the salary line?
I would probably say half the league.
Half the league.
That's a guess. I don't have the exact
number. The
number,
one piece that's missing from that, Mike, and I'm surprised they didn't throw it in there, why not make it more punitive financially to where if for every dollar you're over the 17.5, it costs you 8 to the league?
I do think the league wants to give the teams, hey, if your owner's willing to spend all this money, go ahead. Matt Ishbia of Phoenix,
the Suns
they're going to be way over the 17.5
and that's why
million.
I add that piece to it, because he's indicated that I don't care.
To him, money doesn't matter.
I don't care. Money does not matter. He took his games. That all the league's deals are with cable operators. They're local deals. He said, I'm going to put them on free over-the-air TV.
Yep.
Do you know how much money he's leaving on the table by doing that? But it's a smart move. It's going to help his fan base tremendously. And you'll still get revenue share with whatever local affiliate is carrying the local games. But he's losing a ton of dough. So my fear is you're going to have that renegade owner, and he seems to be it, who's going to say, I don't care, tax me.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, if you want to go over that, I love all of those little things that are punitive over the $17.5 million, but throw another financial penalty on top of it.
See, this right here, I think the league wants to they don't want to eliminate player movement. Like, they want to make it difficult for players to move, but they don't want to completely eliminate it, because guess what? It's free agency today. People are excited and people like seeing players move, especially this new group of people. Now, I will say this.
But do fans like seeing players move?
Yeah.
I think so.
You do?
I do.
Because for every team that picks up a big free agent, there's an equal-sized fan base that's disappointed that player has moved.
I think have you ever heard maybe an older person, grandfather, father say, you watch somebody celebrate and they say, well, guess what? Today is their day in the sun.
Yeah, let them have it.
You'll have your day one day too.
So lose a LeBron here. But see, for a team like Cleveland, who are we going to pick up?
Well, I think in today's era of social media and TikTok and Twitter and all these highlights, there are more people who are fans of players than teams. I think guys would follow.
You do?
Yeah, I think there's more Trae Young fans than Hawk fans. Like, for example, Trae Young has a cult following. It's kind of
switched a little bit, like the following.
I don't know that I buy that, though.
Because you can't cultivate them. It kind of goes back to like the NBA, as far as when you were in high school, right? You knew who the best players were because they played on St. Ed's or St. Ignatius, and guess what? You can watch them. Now it don't even matter what you do in high school. It's all about your ranking is AAU.
Sure.
So you don't get to grow with the player.
Where you slide in on the recruiting.
If you're going to college basketball, that doesn't matter. Like now the best players is from G League Ignite and all these other. So you can't even really develop that.
But I think with college basketball, what we've seen happen to college basketball, everybody's interest in college basketball has gone down. I have friends that used to follow every dribble of the entire season, and they lived on it. Now they tell me, I hate college basketball.
Yeah.
Can't watch it, won't look at it. And one of the reasons they all say is because the players are transient. They're one and done. The good ones come and they go. And so if it's done that to college basketball, by the players just dipping in and dipping out. Now, I know when an NBA player, superstar, changes teams, he's still in the league. Mm-hmm. But it's so hard for a fan base to sink its teeth. Even when Donovan Mitchell's ink was barely dry on this trade deal, and we were already hearing whispers that, well, he wants to go to New York. Like, the player movement, I think, pops a pin in the air balloon of the Cavs because we're like, yeah, I know he's got 3 years left on his contract, but he won't play here 3 years. And we seem to know that.
And that's why, if you have these other rules, it makes it more difficult for those teams with the players to round out a roster. Yeah. If you're the Cavs, you have an opportunity where other people, if you can develop, if you can be somewhat fiscally responsible, and if you can get guys that you draft well, you get them in the system, you propagate them, you get them together, and then you might, in 5 or 6 years, you may have a window.
So kind of like the mid-major, a Max school who gets a great recruiting class and keeps them all together, and then when they're all seniors, they have a chance to do a little something.
So this is how the new CBA affects the Cavs, and we'll get to free agency in 1 sec, but Jason has said many times, this will not be a tax team till Evan Mobley gets his extension.
Right.
They are not going to enter that threshold of paying $4 for each dollar they spend until they give that
and
extension.
And that's by design,
to Evan Mobley. And that is designed through the front office. That is because they understand Mobley's going to get a max extension. Then you have a max for Mobley, you have a max for Garland. Jared Allen will be coming off.
Do you like that strategy? Because I love it.
Yeah, I think it's smart, especially with the uncertainty of Donovan Mitchell's future here. It doesn't make sense to go all in now when you know you have essentially the core foundation piece of your team still on a rookie deal. So I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how it plays for them long term is, A, you have to draft and develop smartly.
And they've done that.
This is where Monty Bates comes in. Can you turn a guy who's a project, certainly has upside, certainly has questions, can you turn a guy like that into a player?
Right.
Can you turn, they had 4 second-round picks last year. Will any of those guys ever make an impact at the NBA level?
Give us one, you know?
One of the, if you have a 25% hit rate in the second round, you're the best second-round drafting team in the entire NBA.
Good. Yeah.
Can you find guys on the margins, which the Cavs have a mid-level exception to use this year? They also have like a $2.4 million open slot to use elsewhere, which is going to be a guy who, a fringe guy, but you have to find a fringe guy who can contribute. Yeah. And with the totality of all this,
will you?
You can find an old veteran who just wants to play one more year, who may not be a guy in your playoff rotation, but could contribute in the regular season. But it's going to come down to smarter GMs, smarter team building strategies, and coaches who can take a guy who may have talent, who may not have shown it yet, and develop them into players.
Right.
You know
and
what?
Patience is the key with this, because you're not going to get guys right away who can contribute.
You know what? It just dawned on me. See, the Cavs aren't doing anything nobody else is doing, right? This isn't new under the sun. But the problem with the Cavs is they have a messaging problem, right? The Guardians message their stuff up and down, and they let you know what it is, right? The Guardians will let you know, hey, we're not getting free agents. Hey, we always got to have conversations about trading some of our best players. But the problem with the Cavs is the Cavs are a mid-major team just like the Guardians are. They have the same restraints. They have almost the same amount of the fan base that's a little fickle. If you got a good team, we'll show up, and we'll watch you, right? But we're not going to come up and be there every single game like if you were just come rain, sleet, or snow. That's not going to happen.
Like the Browns fan base.
Browns fans base. Yeah. So the Cavs should be messaging more like the Guardians message. Now, look.
We are who we are.
We are who we are. Donovan Mitchell, we saw an opportunity to get Donovan Mitchell. Guess what? Donovan Mitchell does not come around here an awful lot. Now, we did go out and get him, but we also have to be flexible enough to say once we got him and it's an asset, how do we maximize it? And we can't just lose him for nothing. So you guys might be a little uncomfortable out there, but we're going to talk about moving and trading and doing a lot of stuff because that's what we have to do as a Cavs organization.
Did you guys discuss at length the Windhorst tweet? Like the cryptic.
We did a whole.
What was your takeaway from all of it? Because I reached out to some people, and I'll let you know what I found. But what did you guys decide?
We did a whole
show
live stream, but we did 2 full shows on it. Essentially, we thought, Windy knows what he's doing. We like Windhorst. He's
smart like a
very
fox.
smart. I think that was a foolish way to poke the bear here. I don't think the Cavs have any realistic, outlandish moves to make unless you consider trading Jared Allen outlandish, which I don't think so.
Even when you go back to his comments before the Donovan Mitchell trade, do you remember?
Oh, he always knows what's going on.
He said he knew it was far.
He coyly sat there and became a meme.
Yeah.
Point this guy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but something's going on. I feel like this is the same thing in that there are breadcrumbs, And when it happens, he'll be able to lean back and say, I knew I wasn't at liberty to report.
I couldn't do that.
And a lot of guys are in that situation. I'm sure if Jason was here, he would tell you that guys tell him stuff off the record all the time. Now, what's interesting about Windy is he'll actually, and I think it's smart for his brand, I think he'll actually say, I'm sitting on a piece of information right now that is really interesting, and something's going to happen. And he even told us with who. He said the Cavs are doing something.
And you know what? It's like Woj's thing is, I'm going to be the first. But if you market yourself as the dude, like, I'm really the first dude, but I'm just giving you hints. It's almost, it piques your interest. Like, let me see if I can figure out this trade.
Exactly.
What is
and it certainly
deciphering?
Spurned a lot of conversation.
It did. To bring this back to the Cavs real quick, because I know free agency does start tonight. I mentioned they had that $2 million vet minimum. Here's the exact amount of money they have to spend in free agency. They have a $12.4 million mid-level exception to use. They have a 4.5 biannual, which means they can sign a guy 2-year contract so $2 million a year, essentially 4 or 5, and the vet minimum. They're $37.5 million below the luxury tax. So they have $37 million to spend.
That's nice wiggle room.
That does not include Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert's contract does not include in that.
Why?
That's fake money because they can go over the cap to sign him and it don't count.
They have exclusive bird rights to him.
Okay.
So that LeVert's money does not necessarily factor into the 30.
Well, they're in a good
Well, actually,
spot
I take that back.
then.
I take that back. It doesn't count the cap. That is in the luxury tax.
Yeah,
So
that's what I thought.
So it does count. I take that
it's
back.
not invisible money.
It does count towards the luxury tax number, but they have $12 million to use on a mid-level exception, $4 million to use on a biannual veteran contract.
Okay.
So 2 guys essentially they could bring in. And I went through the list, and we've talked about potential targets for the Cavs for a while now. I mean, we brought up weeks ago some targets, and I want to go through and get your guys' thoughts. I broke these down into 3 categories. Realistic targets I like, realistic targets I don't like, and please stop asking because they're not coming to Cleveland. So which category do you want to start with?
Do that one. Please stop asking because they're not coming to Cleveland.
There it is.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Kyle Kuzma.
Why?
He's going to get $30 million a year, whether you like it or not.
He's going to get.
Good Lord. Well, then I wouldn't want him at that number. I wouldn't.
That's his market value.
Whether you want him or not, there's
because
not
I
a
know
chance in
his
hell
skill
he's taking
set
$12.4 million.
is invaluable.
Yeah.
But, guys, we couldn't do that.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
These are guys that will not be Cavaliers.
Okay, so I thought you were saying guys that we could fit in but wouldn't come to Cleveland. You're saying
it's both.
These are guys
not
who possible.
These are guys who we have seen Cavs might have interest in.
Right.
Well, have interest. G. Bush, do you want to work for free for the next 4 months?
Nah, man, I'm cool.
Yeah.
See, you can report that I reached out to G. Bush. These are guys who will not come to Cleveland.
So this is pie-in-the-sky names.
Yes.
That either by their choosing or by the semantics of the cap can't end up here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 2, Chris Middleton.
Okay.
Would be a great fit.
I think he would.
Stylistic. He just turned down a $40 million option in Milwaukee.
Oh my God.
He's not going to take $12 million to come to Cleveland.
He was like the number one. He was the highest paid person in the league for like a second. Like crazy.
Next up, Draymond Green will not be a Cleveland Cavalier.
Why?
Yeah.
Is it, again, money or just
he turned down $28 million. I can't imagine he's going to take 12 now to come to Cleveland.
And it is Draymond Green.
Yeah. Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, but let me ask both of you this. Would you want him here?
Yes.
Yeah,
I would too.
In a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. Without a question, put him on my team.
Yeah. I'll take about 6 dudes for the Warriors. It don't matter.
Well, we'll get to one another list.
Cleveland Warriors.
Yeah.
And Cam Johnson's the last one. Cam Johnson's going to get an offer sheet, $5 million, 80 to 90, 5 years to 80 to 90 million. Him and Austin Reeves neither financially would be able to fit into the.
Okay, then
Cavs.
what was the next?
So I have
category?
Realistic targets I like.
Yeah.
Realistic targets I don't like.
Okay.
Where do you want to start?
Give us the don't like and the reasons you don't like them.
All right, first is Kelly Oubre Jr. I know he scored 20 points a game last year. I know he's a decent statistical three-point shooter. Shot 33% last year. I know he's athletic. I know he's talented. I've watched enough Hornets basketball because I love watching the Melo Ball play on League Pass to look at guys and see him as a good stats, bad team guy.
Yeah.
I don't think Kelly Oubre fits into the makings of
He's
a
just
good
gathering numbers for a
team.
bad team.
He's not a bad player.
Right.
I just don't like the fit with
Those
him
numbers
in
aren't
Cleveland.
transferable to a good team that has
I don't
talent.
think so.
How
personally.
much is he going to demand on the open market?
I think he's in the mid-level exception-ish range.
I got him like $18 million.
Jeez.
Hey, some team might pay him more. So here's the thing with the Cavs, too. The Cavs have a mid-level exception to use. A lot of teams have mid-level exceptions to use, and a lot of teams need wings. So all these guys I'm going to list,
I know.
This is not, one team, two teams need them. Pick Cleveland over Team X.
Yeah.
It's pick Cleveland over Team X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E.
It's a tough market.
I just don't love the fit. Second one, Seth Curry, great shooter, would be the best shooter on the team tomorrow. I can't have another small guard who doesn't play defense on this team. They have enough.
Even if they bring that skill set, because that's what we need.
He doesn't play defense and he's a small guard. At some point, you do need some size to defend wings.
Yeah.
And you can't play 3 small guards at once and expect to stop anybody on defense. Christian Wood's an interesting name because he is a stretch 4/5, but Dallas traded legit assets to get him.
Yeah, they're not going to.
They took him for 1 year and said, man, we don't want you back. Go.
They did?
They kicked him to the curb. They traded legit assets to get him, and he's another guy. Really good stats in Houston, did not lead to wins. He did not mesh with Luka, and I don't trust a team with the lack of bigs Dallas has. That's like, yeah, okay, you go. We're okay. I just don't trust that kind of player coming in here.
Okay.
Moving along, I have 2 more. T.J. Warren, another guy, skill set fits. He's played 46 games in 3 years. I need a guy who I can trust.
I thought he was out the league.
Yeah, no, when he plays, he's good. Last year, he was actually really solid for the Nets, but he's played 46 games in 3 years. I don't trust him.
And I think that trend's going to continue. I mean, rarely do suddenly they just play 75 games after that kind of a track record.
And then Josh Richardson, who has bounced around the league, he's been on a couple different teams. He was really good on Miami. He was part of the Jimmy Butler trade.
I remember that.
He was in Philadelphia. I've heard some stories from guys who work in the league. Just doesn't seem like he's fully locked into loving basketball. So I would pass on Josh Richardson as another guy who fits the quote-unquote 3-and-D need for the Cleveland Cavaliers as a guy who would be the right fit.
Okay, so now this next group are guys that you like that we could actually bring in.
That I think are in the realm of realistic.
Okay.
Now, once again, Cleveland will be going up against 5, 6, 7 teams for all these guys.
Yeah.
Because there is a number of teams that need wings, and a lot of teams only have that mid-level exception to use.
Right,
so, we've mentioned a couple of these names before. These aren't new, but I still think Donte Divencenzo from Golden State is a legitimately realistic possibility. Jason said he also liked if he changed his mind to another guy who's on this list in a sec is his top priority, but he's a guy who 6'5", relatively physical defender, pretty good shooter.
The shooting part of it is the part I like. I think he's a really good shooter.
He's streaky, but he's absolutely a guy you can rely on to make an open three.
He'd be our best three-point shooter.
If you get enough streaky shooters on the same team, you can get consistent.
Yeah.
At least one of them going to be good. Like a bunch of streaky shooters, give me 4 streaky shooters. Hey, one of them's going to be hot that night.
Yeah.
So I like Divincenzo. He's definitely a mid-level exception guy. He may even be about $10 million, so you don't use that $2 million elsewhere, but definitely fits in the financial range. Same with Malik Beasley and Georges Niang, 2 guys. Beasley with the Lakers this past season was good down the stretch of the regular season, didn't play in the playoffs. Niang's more of a stretch 4, who's a 40% career three-point shooter, which goes underrated. Dude doesn't move fast. His game doesn't look pretty
at all.
But he makes shots, and he's played in some big playoff games. Like time
he
after
reminds me
time,
of a sloth.
his nickname's the minivan, which I think is pretty good because he kind of moves like a minivan.
Yeah.
But he shoots 40% from
Look
the
at his
floor.
brother. Him playing against his brother, Strus.
Yeah, and Strus is actually next. And Strus is who Jason Lloyd has said he's moved into as his top target for the Cavs.
Oh, wow.
I don't disagree. Strus is, I think, one of the hardest guys to value. He's never been paid, undrafted guy. He's going to go out there looking for the bag. This dude is an undrafted, looking for his first contract.
Yeah.
His skill set, 3-and-D, playoff experience,
that's what
through
we
the
need.
Heat mantra, through the Heat culture.
Right.
He's going to get paid.
All right.
Will he take a mid-level exception? I think he's probably worth a little more, but Jason mentioned a possible mid-level exception sign and trade. You throw Jetty Osman's contract in there, you bring back a guy like Max Strus. I think he would be an ideal candidate.
I would be excited about that move.
That would be a legit one.
Yeah.
We mentioned Miles Bridges, restricted free agent. Obviously, he comes with a little bit of baggage.
Yeah, I don't know about him.
Suspended for 10 games, but if the new ownership in Charlotte's willing to say, Miles, we appreciate what you've done for this organization on the court, but we want to start completely fresh. We don't want you here because of the off-the-court issues. You could get him at a relatively cheap price in that mid-level exception range, assuming no one else would take the baggage with them. And he'd be a good fit.
I don't think he fits. I think he'd be, in terms of need and skill set.
Yes, a good fit.
But I don't think with the chemistry of this group that he fits in.
Totally fair. I'm just saying as far as a basketball fit, he does fit.
And you've got to be very careful if you're Kobe. I've heard coaches talk about this a lot. I remember it was an issue in Tampa Bay and when they brought Keyshawn Johnson in. The issue was can one bitter guy poison the soup? And you got to be really careful about that because I love what they've done with this core group. It's good guys.
Well, he's very good friends with Darius Garland. Those two are tight. They have the same agent, so he would have at least one of his guys in. I don't think it's the most realistic option,
right?
But it certainly
What's
is a
the most realistic to you?
Divincenzo or Strus. I think those two guys fit the closest to what Cleveland needs to a T.
Right.
Both within the relative financial realm. A sign and trade. If you give up Osman for Strus, you make that trade 100 out of 100 times.
Hell yes.
And
I mean,
I know
without
Cavs
even
fans love
thinking
Jetty,
about it.
but you do that 100 out of 100 times.
Yeah.
And even if he gets a little more, let's say he's a mid-level extension plus 15, 16, 17 million, a guy who shoots 40% from three from his career, who's made big shots in the playoffs, who comes from the best organization in basketball and has finals experience, sign me up.
I have to admit, when I watch the Heat in the playoffs, time and time again, I'm like, when I'm watching this guy, I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And how do we not know more about him?
He was an undrafted guy, played 2 years in the G League, played a year with the Heat, but barely played, then came up. That's what I meant about
patience
earlier. Sometimes, like these second-round picks and undrafted guys especially, there's a reason they're second-round picks. It usually means they're just not ready to play in the NBA today. It doesn't mean they'll never be able to play.
Right.
They just need time to
Everybody
develop.
develops differently.
Yeah, and guys like Strus, who played 4 years of college, or 3 years of college, at DePaul, just needed some time to get acclimated to the system. And he was more of a ball handler at DePaul. They turned him into a three-point shooter.
Wow.
And changing your offensive philosophy of what you do as an offensive basketball player, it's easy to say, just go run off screens. There's a skill to that, and he had to learn that skill.
Yeah,
that's why I keep holding out hope with Mobley.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about how young he is and how much he does have to grow, he could be a guy that at 24, 25 is a complete package player that has inside post moves and a better shooter and, develops his body a little bit more.
It's, I think sometimes people don't realize to become a playmaker like that, you have to have a certain level of creativity. Like, basketball is a free form sport. Like, they don't tell you to take 3 dribbles, turn around, and throw a hook.
See Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, like that's all. It's all.
Read and react.
It's just like these guys. I came up with this move. You did this. I'm gonna do this. Like, it's easy to tell a pitcher, "Hey, I need you to develop 2 more pitches this offseason." What?
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, I came with 3 pitches. I'm gonna ride this fastball and maybe throw a changeup. But other than that, you got what you got. I think it's a little more difficult to that. And I think the thing you mentioned, Imani Bates, one of the reasons I like people like, oh my gosh, Jason said he's gonna break your heart. I'm like, no, that ain't my job.
Jason's anti-Imani Bates?
Jason's anti-Imani Bates immediately. He's saying that if Imani Bates is ever going to contribute to the Cavs, it'll take a couple of years for him to develop.
Well, listen.
And that's fine.
That's fine.
He's a second-round pick.
Get on developing. Like, get to developing. Like, this is, when I say sometimes put pressure on the organization, I don't mean just through trades. I'm talking, there's other ways you put pressure on them. If I'm Kobe Altman, we done got these guys. What is my training staff doing?
Yeah.
Mobley need to gain 20 more pounds. What are you doing, nutrition staff?
Right.
I saw Coach Prime come in and change 96 things in a college. And colleges don't change.
No.
The institutions stay the same.
Yeah.
Coaches, players come. But there's an opportunity here that you got a kid with some talent. He's not like Bridges, because Bridges is, for lack of a better term, he's done. He is who he is. Like, you don't change.
He's a finished product.
Yeah, you don't change character when you're 24, 26.
Yeah, it's harder.
It's harder.
You can, but it's really tough.
You got a younger guy. He's moldable. You can take the fact that, hey, bro, you went from a Sports Illustrated magazine to dang near not even getting drafted.
Right.
Maybe
that's the wake-up call he needed. Plus, he's surrounded by good character guys. And I think that's why I said on the show last week or Monday, I think this is the best place for him.
Do you know he used your audio in his Welcome to Cleveland video?
Someone told me that,
yeah.